We are action.
We are action! Okay, we're going to make this video to show how to do this hair in the Frankish style. The length of the hair needs to be able to reach from one side of the head to the other. So we're going to start the braids up at this point, pretty high on the head. I'm going to divide the hair into 2 sections. 3 sections. And braid. Oops, that section is too small. That section is still too small. That section is still too small. Okay, I'm going to get down until there's only a few more inches of usable hair and take this piece of linen string, fold it in half.
Which has been waxed.
It has been lightly waxed, this linen string, so it has a little bit of stiffness. I'm going to lay the 2 ends of the string along 2 of the 3 sections of hair and braid it into the braid. 2 or 3 turns of the braid. And then I'm going to take this string back out of the braid. Out. Get out, get out. Okay, take the 2 strings out of the braid. Continue to braid the hair a little bit lower than the string. It's getting a little tangly because your ends are kind of layery. And braid as far down to the end of the hair as I can get. And then hold the hair. Take these 2 ends of string and cross them over, wrap them around the braid as far down as I can go until I'm almost out of string and have just barely enough to tie a happy little bow. Tie that and make a tiny little loop and another tiny little loop until we have a happy little bow. Okay, now I've got the string woven into the braid just enough so that it's not going to pull out like it would if I just wrapped it around. So we have 1 braid done. Now we're going to do the other one. I want it to match. So I want to put it as high up on the head as the other one. It's right about there. Divide it into 3 sections again. Oops, those sections are too small. Okay. I missed a spot. Come here, hair. That mostly matches. Okay, braiding this hair, same as the other hair. And I'm going to get a few inches from the end of the braidable hair again. Take this other string. Same as the first one, lightly waxed piece of linen string. Hold it in the middle so that it's divided in half. I'm going to lay one end into a strand of hair and lay the other end into another strand of hair, and then continue the braid action. 2 or 3 turns. Then I'm going to take the strings back out of the braid and braid the rest of the hair as far down as I can get it until I run out of braidable ends, all the way down to the end of the hair if I can. Then take these 2 ends of string that are braided in, wrap them around to the front and the back, over and over, until I get to the end of the hair or run out of string, whichever comes first. And then I'm going to tie this string in a happy little bow. Make a tiny loop, make another tiny loop, pull the loops, tiny bow. Now just the same as the first one, I have two pigtails that are tied with little strings. They're about in the same spot on the head. Now what I'm going to do next is wrap them across the front of the head and tuck the ends under the beginning of the opposite braid. And what's going to hold these in place for now are the hands of the human. So I need to take this hand and hold this piece of braid, and I need to take this hand and hold that piece of braid for right now. And we're going to take this cotton tape, which should be a linen tape, but cotton is what we have, and we're going to take this bone bodkin, thread the tape into the bodkin like we're threading a needle. Bring the camera here, focus here. I'm going to thread this bodkin into the braid in between strands and leave a little tail, tie off the ends just to give it somewhere to stay. Then I'm going to use this bodkin and start sewing the braid onto the head hair. I'm going to go under the hair. Oops, nope, wait. First I'm going to take this tail, I'm going to wrap it around the hair. The whole head, going to wrap it around the head. Okay, so put this hand back down, lift up the left hand, and I'm going to bring it around back and back to the beginning and pull it kind of snug. And now I'm going to start sewing the bodkin underneath the braid, underneath a bunch of hair, and back up. I'm going to try to keep the tape flat on top of the braid. And as I go under the hair, I'll move this hand forward, I'm going to also go under the tape that wraps around the crown of the head. So now I'm just sewing, stitches about 1 inch apart, sewing this braid to the head like I was sewing a piece of cord onto a fabric. And so we can put this hand down and just hold up the other side now. I'm pulling each stitch kind of snug because I want this to be firm and stay in place. Gonna sew here. Now when I get to the middle, there is not a lot of hair on the head in the place where I need it to be to sew the next stitch. So I'm going to cross over to the other side of the center part and make a really long stitch like I'm skipping the middle. Then I'm going to, oops, got a thread. Okay, then I'm going to go back one do a stitch on the opposite side, and then I'm going to double back and do this stitch after that. And that gives me some stability in the very front. I'm going to keep going. Okay, you can let go of this hand now. Pull that braid a little snug. Make sure the end is tucked under the beginning of this braid. Got a thread and it's bothering me. Keep sewing like normal. I'm going to try to catch this hair and sew it up into this crown we're making. And I'm going to try to pull these stitches pretty snug and keep the tape flat if I can. Now when I get to the last stitch at the beginning of this braid, I'm going to hand the bodkin to the model. I'm going to come around here. The beginning of the tape I'm going to untie so it hangs free. And I'm going to bring the two ends around the back and tie, pulling it a little tight, and I don't have a lot to work with, so I'm going to just make one loop. And pull that tight, and then tuck it under. So what I've got here is two braids that cross the front of the head and come back to meet each other here. One piece of tape that starts on this side, wraps all the way around, sews the braid to the head, and then ties in the back. So come around the front. And the reason for this needing to be very sturdy and very stable, so that we can hang a heavy piece of fabric. Okay, so here, hold up this heavy piece of fabric right here. And we're going to use these heavy-duty veil pins. You can see them. What we're going to do with this heavy veil pin is in two places at the top of the head. We're going to stab through the fabric and into the, okay, let go of this side. We're going to stab into the hair, and we're going to weave the point of the pin kind of back and forth until the whole length of the pin is in hair braid. We don't want the pointy end sticking out or sticking into the head. We want it sunk into the hair all the way. I'm going to take this other pin, go through the fabric of this veil, and weave the point kind of back and forth so it grabs onto the hair of the braid, and sink the whole length of the pin is just in this hair braid. It's not pointing toward the head, so it can't poke her, and it's not pointing out, so it doesn't poke anybody else. And it holds the veil onto the head so that it doesn't fall down and it can be worn all day. Smile, you're a friend. Ta-da! The end.